Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, with Craig and Paul. I'm David Smoak. This is 365 Sports. Mack, thank you, as always, for your time. With the state of the football program the way it is one of what you have to at least digest is what you can do to keep the fan base moving forward, supporting the program the way it is.
Well, let me start by this, and I certainly, appreciate that question. And I'm sure you and the guys have probably several other questions about football. Let me be really, really clear. No one is okay with Saturday's performance. I was certainly completely disappointed, and as others, and certainly no one's okay with 2-4 at this point. Halfway through the season. Again, I'm not, and I know our fan base isn't, and I know that Dave isn't, our coaches aren't, nor are our student athletes. Anybody tied to the program. I think one of the challenges is trying to fix problems, in the speed of the season, and this bye week will provide an opportunity. It's a great time to really take a hard look and make any adjustments. And quite frankly, we need to make adjustments. We need to make some changes, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. I believe we've got really good staff. I believe we got really good football minds. They didn't all of a sudden get less smart from 2021, and nobody's working harder than them, and nobody's more disappointed than them. Obviously right now we're struggling to run the ball. And our offense is built, for the run to set up the pass, and so that's not obviously working well, particularly when we get into the red zone, and we're struggling to stop the run. So, so there's some things really obvious, and then there's some things that are underlying that are maybe not so obvious, like some of the injuries, the impact that they've had on our rotation, and with a really young group of players, their capacity. It's not the physical piece, but it's certainly the mental piece in terms of learning and understanding scheme. So there's a lot of moving pieces. And again, back to our fan base, does it concern me that they're frustrated? Absolutely. They should be frustrated, and we all should be frustrated. I think my job during this time is not to be emotional, but to really be constructive and factual. Certainly ongoing conversations with Coach Aranda. I think those have been very, very constructive. We've had a great partnership up to this point in time, and I believe in him, and I believe in his ability to fix these problems. And I think to solve these problems and to fix these problems over time. I think about a lot of different things, right? Since we hired Dave, there are 7 coaches in the country that have won 12 games in a New Year's Six Bowl in a season. He's one of them. There's 2 others are in this conference, and so why do I bring that up? Because the margin between winning and losing is really, really small, and unfortunately, we're on the wrong side of that, and there's no excuses for that. We gotta get it fixed, and we got to get it fixed, sooner rather than later. So we're hard at work with it.
I think it's a fair question because of what you mentioned. The offensive side of the ball has obviously struggled. Would you ever intervene in trying to suggest who should be the one who calls the offensive plays?
I appreciate that question. I've never, again, just being fully transparent and candid, I'd never have in the past, but I can assure you that Coach Aranda and I have spent several conversations, minutes, hours, whatever the totality of those conversations have been, talking about our offense and talking about how it needs change. It needs to be tweaked. It needs to, probably where our personnel is right now, fit our personnel better. And so we've had those very, honest and direct and candid conversations.
How much of preparing for the future is off the field with things that Coach Aranda can't control, that are outside in the ever-changing world of college athletics, that you guys might need to accelerate, like name, image, and likeness, or all that you guys are working on to make sure that the next wave of it is ready to go? Because it's been a hard space for most schools to figure out. I think that fans of Baylor look at it and go, well, we never hear about this, we don't know about this or that. But I would say that most schools are in the same boat of just trying to figure out what's the best way forward for their individual brand in school.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Paul. And obviously, when you think about resources, there's different categories. There's certainly the facility piece, and we've spent a long time in being, I think, really, really thoughtful in terms of the Fudge Football Development Center, and I think that's going to be a great addition to the program. I think it will help with recruiting. It's not like it used to be, obviously, because of name, image, and likeness, but it's still important to recruiting. I think it will certainly, help in terms of player development and all of those things. So I think that's a piece of it. I think name, image, and likeness has become the most public piece, right now. And, we haven't been very public with our name, image, and likeness numbers, because quite frankly, we've never wanted it to be viewed, our student athletes coming to Baylor as a transaction. But with that said, I think we're probably doing better than what our fans think in that space. I think that we're certainly in the upper half in the Big 12 in terms of the name, image, and likeness monies that are being dispersed, throughout our program, throughout the football program. But I do think there's room for growth there. And I think it's going to be really, really important when we think about, we talk to our donors and we talk to our fans, that, investing in name, image, likeness is becoming more and more important every day we speak. When we think about maybe getting, some of the higher profile transfers from other institutions, I think you're going to have to do some one-off stuff with those student athletes. And then, we've got a lot of really great young talent that, I think we're being very, very proactive and certainly thinking about that, we have to retain. And so, that continues to be an ongoing conversation, with name, image, and likeness. We've got a strategic plan for it. I think we're executing it at a really, really good level. So, but those conversations about name, image, and likeness, not only on our campus, I just think throughout the country. I mean, those are ongoing conversations that are happening each and every day.
Can you try, as frustrated as I know you are and everybody else is, and there's a standard that Baylor athletics has set across the board in many, many ways, and especially with what they have accomplished through ups and downs in football the last decade. Do you see positives? Is there something, despite what you may think about or what is fact, the offense is struggling, et cetera? Do you see anything in particular that can be looked at as a positive?
Well, I mean, I think we talked about it. I think we've got some really, really, good young talent. I think that, this year we got into the portal. I think probably the mistake that we made is not getting into it enough the year before, because, the way I think about it is if we were more in it, the year before, we're probably not having to play as many young players this year. Now, I think that will serve well in the future, but man, it makes it really, really hard right now. So I do think that, you think about somebody like a Blake Shapen and just think about all of the hardship that he's gone through and maybe even the way our fans have treated him. That young man's a warrior, and in the way he's playing and performing, and I'm really, really proud about that. I think we have an opportunity in terms of talent acquisition to do really well, both high school and the transfer portal, and so we'll need to do that. In the future, we've talked about it, and I get our fans aren't really, really interested in it, but for those that understand team and culture and chemistry, our kids have not quit, not even close. And I know that Coach Aranda has talked to a lot of them post Saturday, and they're in a really good mindset. And when I say that, nobody's happy with the results. They're upset. They're taking ownership in it. They're not pointing fingers. And I can tell you, they still believe unbelievably in Coach Aranda. There's not one young man on that team that won't run through a brick wall for them right now. And I think they feel that like that about the staff. And so, there are, I think, a lot of positives. We got 6 more games to show improvement, and that's the expectation.
Could the bye week, or it's not a bye week because that means you advance, but could the off week come at a better time, or would you rather than get back on the field and play a game this weekend and then, well, maybe that wouldn't be good right now?
Yeah, no. Quite frankly, I would have if I had to pick, I would have liked to have had the bye week right after the Texas game.
Okay.
Because it gives you, in our fans and you all know and understand that football's, unlike any other sport. You can't just fix and tweak things, offensive scheme and all of the things that are tied to it in 1 or 2 days. It's not like basketball, and so it's really hard to do it within the middle of the week. You can do some things, but you're limited. And so I think, I think the off week gives us an opportunity to really think and be thoughtful about what we do differently in the red zone. You think about the conversation we would be having right now if we were just more efficient in the red zone. It's not like we haven't gotten to the red zone. We've gotten to the red zone plenty of times. We just haven't scored when we've gotten it. And that's unacceptable. I mean, we got to get better there. And so taking a really, really hard look, do we think about going tempo more consistently? There's a lot of moving pieces to that. And so this off week, is something we need to capitalize on. And again, if I had my choice, I would preferred to have it after the Texas game.
I've asked you this before when it comes to what Baylor dealt with nearly a decade ago in recruiting, et cetera. and even when you hire coaches and who they are, and you've hired some coaches since you arrived in 16. Is there in any way at all any kind of demand or request from above that Baylor coaches have a certain demeanor and or the image needs to be more important than the win-loss column?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the question, and I think I know where you're headed, and I want to make sure that I answer it and don't evade it. I think, look, Baylor, maybe the best way for me to answer that is Baylor has always had a standard about the type of people we bring into our organization. And by no stretch does that mean perfect people. I'm far from that. But they need to be good people. They need to, understand and believe in, Christian values and the way you treat one another, et cetera. Can those people be ornery? Can they have an edge? Absolutely. I've gotten into plenty of people. Dave Aranda has, our other coaches and staff have. And so, we look for a good person, the right fit that's going to, put the program before them. That's going to give everything that they have that pours into, our young people. And it's the same way, it's the same way when we bring student athletes into our program. And again, they don't need to be perfect. Where I have gotten frustrated, okay, is just with some of our policy, where I believe that there has been, and it's been less than a handful, but where there's been a student athlete or two or three or four that have made a mistake, and in my opinion, they have owned it, they have grown from it, they've learned from it, that they're a really, really good person, that they have got a great heart, and it's hard sometimes to get them onto this campus. That's where my frustration has been, and I haven't been quiet about it. I've let people know, and we're working through those things, and and some of it, absolutely, I get it and understand it 100%. Some of it is because of what we went through, again, 2000, 13, 14, 15, right? 16 before I got here. My frustration is I just don't want really, really good people paying for the sins of things that happened a while ago. So that's probably the best way I can answer that.
In the last few years, you've seen a men's basketball team win a national championship. You have also experienced the women's basketball team winning a national championship, and a lot of the sports have had a great run. Football in 21, their best year ever. You have also been heavily involved in the Big 12 with so much that has gone on since 2021. Was there in any way you were so involved in that you not lost your eyesight of what's happening within the athletic department, but has that been any kind of distraction for you?
Yeah, that is a fair question. And it's something that, I think about a lot. And it's something that I thought about a lot as I was going through that. Because I've been involved at the level that I was involved in, with the conference, am I not as involved as I should be with Baylor athletics? And so I think it's a completely fair question. And again, I thought about it. That was something that I wrestled with in the moment during the time. It's something I still wrestle with quite frankly. I think my most honest answer is, I don't think so. I work a lot of hours, and I grind, and I feel like I was just made sure that it didn't matter how much time it took, that I was going to be able to be attentive of both. I really feel like this, and I still believe this. My love for Baylor and my desire to do good for Baylor is way beyond the tenure that I will have here, and the involvement in the conference stuff was about setting up Baylor long term, so that we don't have to continue to always worry about whether or not we're going to be in a Power 5 conference or not. That we could have some long term, stability for the university. So that was certainly a piece of it, and so that's why maybe I didn't say, hey, sorry, I'm not going to help, I'm not going to be involved. But I still found a way to be very, very engaged within the operation. So my sleep and my health has probably suffered from it, but and maybe there have been some one-offs here and there that I should have been more involved in, but that's something that I'll continue to ponder and ask and wrestle with.
Mack, to the end of Big 12 expansion, there are reports about Gonzaga out and Commissioner Yormark's mission to enhance basketball. I know that you can't. There's not been a vote or anything like that yet, but how long is that going to get down the road before there would be a decision on that?
Yeah, I don't know that. I could answer that with certainty. I think there's obviously, as it's been reported, there's conversation. There's a lot going on with the conference right now. Bringing on, not just 4 new members, but now 8, and all of those pieces, and how do we do that? The scheduling and the revenue distribution, and so there's a lot of things that are happening, and so I don't know that Gonzaga it's going to resolve itself here in the next week to 2 weeks. I think there'll continue to be some conversation and some more in-depth conversation as we think about Gonzaga's impact, on our conference, both short-term and long-term.
Mack, we appreciate your time, and thanks for jumping on. And I got to tell you this, 90% of most ADs wouldn't come on as much as you do, and surely not after what happened Saturday night, that I'm sure you could have run the other direction and would have understood it. But we appreciate you coming on when you do, and also the transparency of what might be going on and what is going on. We appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. We're not running from it, and we're going to look it right in the eye, and we have been, and we're going to fix it. It needs to be fixed. So appreciate your time.
Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics on 365 Sports. You guys, I know, Craig, we have